Well, good evening, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Oh, boy. I got to sit out here all all night long, because that threat that was made to me. You got to be careful out there. You got to be prepared to protect this house, especially protect the meats. Because I know Philly 500, he said, Mark Holmes, I'm coming for your meats. Pause. And I don't want that mother humper getting my pulled pork. I don't want him to get my pulled pork. Philly, I told you, stay away from my meats, man. Pause. So we in about 3.5, 4 hours of time so far with the pulled pork. You see the fire's going pretty good there. We got plenty of smoke going through there. Don't hate on the propane. Don't hate on the propane. It just helps and to regulate that temperature. So if I happen to snooze off a little too long, it's okay, because that temperature will stay right there at 220 degrees. Now you want to be out here to make sure we got plenty of those chunks of wood. I don't have big logs. I got chunks. But little chunks, they smoke too. They smoke too if you know what you're doing. So we getting ready for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And, I'm kind of disappointed in some regards because Dak won't be there. I'm a big Dak Prescott fan. And even if he was just standing on the sidelines, to get a couple of, videos and clips and stuff of them standing there wearing his uniform would be exciting. But you know what? I don't need to see him playing in preseason. There's too many guys out there that are getting hurt. I mean, you saw Carson Wentz, before they even hit him, he just ran around the end and boom, he broke his foot. I know that they're sitting there thinking, yeah, okay, he'll be back in 5 to 12 weeks, but what does that mean? He'll be back in 5 to 12 weeks. Does that mean that he'll be gone then in 7 to 14? And I wonder, and this doesn't have anything to do with the Cowboys, but this is my thoughts. Philip Rivers, who's coaching high school, hasn't given up the whole football thing. He could be convinced. And quite frankly, they may want to consider the idea of bringing back Philip Rivers. And the reason I say that is Philip Rivers had, I think, 24 touchdowns and like 11 interceptions. That's not bad. 4,100 yards. You think about Daniel Jones, who had 11 touchdowns and like 13 interceptions and who knows how many fumbles. Quite frankly, that's not bad when you think about the Colt team that's out there around them. I mean, they could go over and get Nick Foles, but if they got Nick Foles, Carson Wentz would be just like, I'm out of here, man. Fuck this. Oh, excuse my language. I'm sorry. Forget this. But it's funny because Nick Foles, the interview that was given, where he's talking about, I'm a Chicago Bear and everything else. Right now I'm a Chicago Bear. But I have to say that, it was Frank Wright who catered the offense to my skill set that helped us to win that Super Bowl. And, Frank Wright and he was literally, it was like he was auditioning. What he was really saying was, come get me. Listen, I'd love to come work for you. I won't be a distraction. I'll do anything. Just, I'm buried on the depth chart here. You got nobody. You got Carson Wentz, who, can't stay healthy. Come get me. I have no problem. Come get me. That's what he said. Yeah, that's what he said. So I'm gonna wait till about midnight and stoke this fire one more time, and then probably go to sleep for about 3 hours, and then I'll come back and hit it again, and then 10 o'clock tomorrow. This time tomorrow, the RV will be parked up here. But for our Dallas Cowboys, we have the game on Thursday night. In case you hadn't heard, I'm going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I'll be there for our first preseason game. And some people are saying, oh, well, Mari Cooper's not going to play, and, Dak's not going to play. Hey, that's okay, because we have a lot of guys that are fighting for positions. And when you looked at the early depth charts on the defense, I mean, offensive line and everything, this is no surprise, okay? You got Blake Jarwin, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Dak, Zeke, Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Connor Williams, Lyle Collins, and Tyler Badish. I mean, there's no surprises there, okay? We know that's the starting lineup unless somebody's hurt. Defensively, as we've all gone through and buried Jaylon Smith and people who want to get rid of him, right now he's the field general. Right now they have him as the middle linebacker. Right now, he is the one that's calling the defense. Things can change, but it may be that Jaylon Smith, because by hook or by crook or by how much money he's getting paid, that they say, we're going to start you there and see where it goes. Another interesting part on the defense, of course, we have Micah Parsons on one outside linebacker, and we have Van Der Esch on the other side linebacker, which isn't really a surprise. You got a number one draft pick. You want him out there day one to be an impact player, although you'll see him move around a lot. What was interesting to me was actually the defensive line, because they had Gallimore, of course, okay? They basically had a two-man defensive line. And of course, we have D-Law on one side and Randy Gregory on the other. But they had Carlos Watkins actually as the starting defensive tackle on the other side. Interesting to say the least, because early word was that Carlos Watkins might be on the outside looking in. Because as people, early projections and things were, here it is, what guys we're going to be keeping, Carlos Watkins kind of as an afterthought. But at the moment, he's penciled in as a starter. What's going to be good is, and maybe I'm wrong, what I think is going to be good is seeing some of these battles for some of these younger guys. If you're Carlos Watkins, you want to go out there and show them what you're worth, because you got these young pups that are behind you. Excuse me. Sorry. You've got these young pups behind you that are chomping at the bit. We got Quentin Bohannon, we got Osi out there, we got Rondell Carter, we've got those guys that are there. We got Keith Urban. He's not a young pup. Keith Urban is actually, Brent. I don't know why I keep going country music. Brent Irving is also there chomping at the bit to get playing time as well. And so when you get an opportunity, you're one of these guys that's kind of on the bubble or on the outside looking in. You want to go out there and show them your wares and show them what you can really do and say, I'm going to make a case why you cannot live without me. And that's what you hope to do to make an impression. And even if it ends up being that you are on that outside looking in, it's not just the Dallas Cowboys that you're auditioning for. You're auditioning for other teams as well, because there's other teams that have, issues at the defensive line, that they've lost a player or two here. You are hoping to be picked up by somebody else. And this is where football is such an unknown business. You got a 90-man roster. Well, guess what? You're going to pare that down to a 55-man roster with, 8 guys on the practice squad. It's 30 of those guys plus that are on there right now that won't have a job in a month. And if you know that I ain't got nothing guaranteed as far as work goes, you got to bust your ass and make an impression. And that's what this Pro Football Hall of Fame game is. It's not about Dak and Zeke and, Tyron Smith and those guys. It's about those guys that are trying to get in behind the other ones. It's about the Steele. It's about the Connor McGoverns, about making a stake in their claim for being that backup and that guy who's ready to be the next man up. Now, one of the comments that I've seen so many people have is, Cowboys need to get a backup quarterback. And I'm honestly going to ask you, who? Who? You look at Minnesota right now, who have 3 quarterbacks on the COVID list. They'll come back. There's nobody out there to sign. You look at the Colts, who went all in on Carson Wentz and, let Phillip Rivers retire. Who are they going to bring in? Unless they make the trade for Nick Foles or bring in Phillip Rivers, and mess up a high school team. There aren't quarterbacks out there. I mean, we thought, hey, we got Andy Dalton, as Colin Cowherd and the rest of them. There's no difference between Dak Prescott and Andy Dalton. That's what they told us. Cowboys, great situation. They got Andy Dalton. He's been to the playoffs 4 times and lost. Yeah. So when you look at the situation, there's just not enough of those guys to go around. And your best hope is actually guys that are familiar with your system and your players, where you've got Cooper Rush, who's been there for a number of years and knows basically what Kellen Moore is thinking. You got Double G, who actually showed up pretty well last year in the one game you got a chance in. And then you got Ben DiNucci, who now his eyes shouldn't be quite as wide open. And now that he's gotten a few reps, I guarantee he won't be as bad as he was before when we were just trying to run a gadget offense. And I'll take that over somebody who is another journeyman quarterback who doesn't know the system. It's just not working that way. So, Philly, stay away from my meats. Let me check the fire here before I go in. Oh yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking. That's some good. That's some good smoke right there, boys. All right. I'll be good for about another hour, and then I'll come out here and bank it and get plenty of wood and charcoal, oak charcoal on it, so that way it keeps smothering. Keep that smoke rolling, rolling, rolling. Hope you guys are having a great night. Tomorrow is already hump day. I can't believe it. Damn. Time keeps on slipping, y'all. Make the most of each day, and I'll see you later on. I ain't got nothing else to do but tend the fire. Might as well do a video in the middle of the night. What the F? Not like, some of you eyes are wide open and you got nothing else to do, so why not watch it? That's the way it rolls.